What if Goku awakened the celestial Saiyan god of stars Goku x Videl x Kefla? Chapter 1. Cosmic Awakening. The tournament of power arena trembled under the sheer force of colliding energies. Fragments of the once vast platform crumbled away into the endless void below, leaving only a jagged pillar of battle-scarred stone suspended in the infinite nothingness. Atop this final battleground stood two figures locked in combat that transcended mortal understanding. Jiren's crimson aura pulsed like a dying star, his stoic facade finally cracking under the train of the longest battle of his existence. Across from him, Son Goku stood enveloped in the quicksilver glow of Ultra Instinct, his body moving with perfect autonomy, each breath calculated by something beyond conscious thought. Their fists connected with such force that reality itself seemed to bend around the impact point, creating ripples that extended far beyond the boundaries of the world of void. In the floating observation platform, gods from 12 universes watched with expressions ranging from awe to terror. Beerus, the god of destruction from Universe 7, gripped the railing so tightly that the metal warped beneath his fingers. "Something's wrong," he muttered, his feline eyes narrowing. "The energy, it's becoming unstable." Whis, his attendant, nodded silently, his usual playful demeanor replaced by grave concern. The angel's staff pulsed with an anxious light as he monitored fluctuations invisible to all others present. "The cosmic boundaries are thinning," Whis whispered. "This battle has reached an intensity that threatens the barriers between realities." The Grand Priest floated forward, his perpetual smile fading. "This match must conclude immediately. The power being generated is unexpected." Quote. Below, oblivious to the concerns of the gods, Goku and Jiren continued their battle. Jiren launched forward, his massive frame belying impossible speed as he hammered a sequence of punches that would have pulverized planets. Goku weaved through them, Ultra Instinct guiding his movements with perfect precision. But even in this transcendent state, fatigue was becoming evident. Silver energy flickered around him like a faltering flame. "Your limit approaches, Son Goku," Jiren stated, his deep voice carrying across the battlefield. "No mortal can maintain the power of gods indefinitely." Goku didn't respond verbally, couldn't respond, as Ultra Instinct required a mind empty of conscious thought. Instead, he lunged forward, executing a perfect counter attack that sent Jiren sliding backward to the edge of the remaining platform. High above, the Omni Kings clapped their hands in childlike delight. So amazing, so amazing. But their attendants exchanged worried glances. Something was building, something beyond even their comprehension. As Jiren recovered his footing, he gathered his energy for one final, decisive attack. Crimson power coalesced around his body, compressing into a singularity of pure destructive force. "This ends now," he announced, the ground beneath him splintering from the pressure of his power. Goku stood perfectly still, silver eyes reflecting the approaching threat. Within his mind, time seemed to slow. Ultra Instinct was failing him, he could feel it slipping away like water through cupped hands. Beyond that, exhaustion tugged at every cell in his body. He had pushed himself beyond any previous limit, beyond what should have been possible. Yet it wasn't enough. In that crystallized moment of realization, something shifted in the cosmos. Perhaps it was the convergence of energies in the tournament, representatives from all 12 universes pushing their powers to the absolute limit. Perhaps it was the unique properties of the world of void, a realm existing outside normal space-time. Or perhaps it was simply that moment when need, opportunity, and cosmic destiny aligned perfectly. Deep within Goku's Saiyan cells, something ancient stirred. Something older than Ultra Instinct, older than the gods of destruction, perhaps even older than the angels themselves. A power that had once been known to the first Saiyans. Before their race became conquerors, when they had been watchers of the stars and keepers of cosmic knowledge. As Jiren's attack rushed toward him, Goku felt the last vestiges of Ultra Instinct fade. In that moment of vulnerability, instead of defeat, he experienced a singular, perfect clarity. His consciousness expanded outward, beyond the arena, beyond the world of void, touching something vast and ancient that had always been waiting. "What is happening to Kakarot?" Vegeta demanded from the observation deck, his voice unnaturally tight with concern. No one answered because no one knew. They watched as Goku's silver aura suddenly collapsed inward, compressing around his body like a dying star. For one heartbeat, he seemed completely normal, all divine energy gone. Then the universe held its breath. The explosion of power that followed defied comprehension. From Goku's form erupted a corona of energy unlike anything previously witnessed, not the silver of Ultra Instinct or the blue of Divine Ki, but a deep, midnight blue interspersed with points of brilliant white light, like stars scattered across the cosmic void. The energy expanded outward in pulsing waves, each one carrying motes of light that hung in the air like newborn stars. Impossible, the Grand Priest whispered, an utterance that sent shivers through every god present. Angels did not express surprise. Jiren's attack collided with the expanding stellar aura and simply dissolved, its energy absorbed and transformed into more of the star-like points of light surrounding Goku. The Pride Trooper took an involuntary step backward, his impassive face finally showing genuine shock. Goku opened his eyes, but they were no longer the silver of Ultra Instinct. Instead, they had become black as the deepest reaches of space, with pinpoints of light swirling within them like galaxies in formation. When he moved, afterimages trailed behind him, not mere shadows but fully formed duplicates that scattered starlight in their wake. What form is this? Beerus demanded, turning to Whis. Even I have never sensed anything like it. Whis' normally unshakable composure had completely vanished. It's not in any records I possess. This is unprecedented. The Grand Priest floated closer to the Omni Kings, his voice low. Your Majesties, I believe we are witnessing the awakening of the Celestial Saiyan God. Celestial Saiyan God, the Omni Kings echoed in unison, their eyes wide with childlike wonder. Is it fun? Is it strong? It is believed to be merely a legend, the Grand Priest continued, his voice unusually grave. A form beyond Divine Ki, drawing power directly from the cosmos itself. If the legends are true, its power knows no upper limit. Below on the battlefield, Goku stood motionless, adjusting to sensations beyond description. He could feel everything, every atom in the arena, every heartbeat of every observer, the pulse of energy flowing through reality itself. More than that, he could sense things beyond the world of void, connections stretching across dimensions, through time, linking all universes in a cosmic web of energy. When he finally spoke, his voice resonated with harmonic overtones, as though multiple voices spoke in perfect unison. This power. Goku looked down at his hands, where starlight swirled beneath his skin. I can feel everything. Jiren reassessed his opponent, his strategic mind calculating this new development. Without hesitation, he launched himself forward, unleashing his full power in a barrage of attacks that would have obliterated solar systems. Goku didn't dodge. He didn't need to. As Jiren's fist approached, space itself seemed to bend around Goku, causing the attack to curve harmlessly away. The few BLOWS that did connect passed through him as though striking a mirage, disrupting his stellar aura momentarily before it reformed. I'm sorry, Jiren, Goku said, and genuine regret colored his otherworldly voice. I don't fully understand what's happening, but I can see now that this battle is over. He raised his hand, and reality rippled. No energy blast formed, no dramatic technique was called out. Instead, Jiren simply found himself unable to move, held in place by what felt like the gravitational pull of a collapsing star. With deliberate gentleness, Goku guided his immobilized opponent toward the edge of the platform. You fought with honor and incredible strength, Goku continued, his galactic eyes reflecting something like compassion. But this power, it's showing me that there are forces far beyond what either of us understood. With a thought, Goku released Jiren from the gravitational hold, simultaneously creating a cushion of energy that slowed the Pride Trooper's fall. As he dropped from the arena into the void below, a profound silence fell over the world of void. The last combatant stood alone on the shattered remains of the tournament platform, cosmic energy swirling around him like a living nebula. The match was over. Universe 7 had prevailed, but no one cheered. No one celebrated. Every being present, from the lowliest mortal to the Omni Kings themselves, understood on some instinctual level that they had witnessed something that changed everything. The cosmic order had been disrupted, and nothing would ever be the same. On Earth, Videl Satan S. 2 atop the Capsule Corporation building, staring up at the night sky with growing unease. She had come here seeking answers after sensing strange energy fluctuations that no one else seemed to notice. Ever since the warriors had left for the Tournament of Power, she had been experiencing unusual sensitivity to energies she had never detected before. Her training had progressed significantly. NCE the days of learning to fly with Gohan. After the Majin Buu incident, she had dedicated herself to understanding and developing her key abilities, refusing to remain helpless while gods and aliens determined the fate of her world. Most humans eventually returned to normal life, letting the memories of world-ending threats fade into comfortable denial. Not Videl. She trained relentlessly, combining her father's fundamentally sound martial arts techniques with everything she could learn about key manipulation. Now, that training was revealing something alarming. The stars above were wrong. Subtly at first, positioned slightly off, colors shifting in ways that couldn't be explained by atmospheric conditions. But in the last hour, the anomalies had accelerated. You sense it too, don't you? Came a soft voice behind her. Videl turned to find Bulma, clipboard in hand, dark circles under her eyes suggesting she hadn't slept in days. Something's happening to the sky, Videl confirmed, turning back to the unsettling celestial display. At first I thought it might be some atmospheric disturbance, but it's not, Bulma finished for her. My instruments started detecting unusual cosmic radiation 3 hours ago. It's like nothing I've ever seen. Not alien technology, not divine energy. Something else entirely. A gentle breeze carried the scent of ozone across the rooftop as the two women stood in contemplative silence. Videl had always appreciated Bulma's approach to the extraordinary events surrounding them, facing the impossible with scientific curiosity rather than fear. Do you think it's related to the tournament? Videl asked finally, voicing the concern that had brought her here in the first place. Bulma tapped her pen against the clipboard anxiously. The timing can't be coincidental. According to my calculations, we should be nearing the end of the time limit Whis gave us before they left. As if responding to her words, the sky above them suddenly pled like the surface of a disturbed pond. Stars blurred and smeared across the firmament, their light stretching into elongated streaks. A low, subsonic vibration began to build, causing the concrete beneath their feet to tremble. What on earth? Bulma began, but her words were cut short as a vertical line of brilliant blue light split the sky directly overhead. The fissure widened, edges ragged like torn fabric, revealing a swirling maelstrom of stars and cosmic energy beyond. Through this unexpected window into another reality, they glimpsed the distant figures of gods and warriors, and at the center of it all, a single form radiating power that bent light around it like a gravitational lens. As that, Goku, Videl whispered, shielding her eyes from the intensity of the light struggling to make sense of what she was seeing. The figure was indeed recognizable as Son Goku, but transformed in ways that defied comprehension. His body seemed composed of concentrated starlight, cosmic energy swirling around and through him. As they watched, he raised a hand toward a massive opponent, and reality itself bent to his will. That's impossible, Bulma breathed, her scientific mind reeling at the fundamental laws of physics being casually rewritten before her eyes. That's not Super Saiyan, or even Ultra Instinct from what was described. That's something else entirely. The dimensional rift pulsed, widening further. Objects on the rooftop began to float upward as gravity itself fluctuated in response to the cosmic disturbance. Wind whipped around them, carrying whispers in alien languages and the distant music of spheres in motion. We need to get inside, Bulma shouted over the growing cacophony, grabbing Videl's arm. The barrier between dimensions is becoming unstable. But Videl couldn't move. Something about the cosmic display held her transfixed. Not just the awesome power being displayed, but something deeper, a resonance she felt within her own ki. For a brief, disorienting moment, it seemed as though Goku looked directly at her through the dimensional rift, his star-filled eyes widening in recognition. Then the connection was broken as the rift collapsed in upon itself with the sudden violence of an imploding star. The shockwave that followed knocked both women off their feet, rolling them across the rooftop as equipment scattered in all directions. When they finally managed to stand, the sky had returned to normal, or almost normal. Careful observation revealed that the stars had rearranged themselves subtly, certain constellations altered in ways only an astronomer might notice. Are you all right? Bulma asked, helping Videl to her feet. Videl nodded, though, all right, wasn't exactly accurate. Physically she was uninjured, but something fundamental had shifted within her perception. The brief connection to whatever cosmic event they had witnessed had changed something. I could feel him, she said quietly. Not just see him, I could actually feel Goku's energy connecting to everything, including me. Bulma gave her a searching look. What exactly did you feel? Videl struggled to articulate the sensation. It was like suddenly understanding that we're all made of the same cosmic material. That the boundaries between us are illusions. She shook her head in frustration. I'm not explaining it well. Actually, Bulma said thoughtfully. You might be explaining it perfectly. My readings showed a momentary quantum entanglement effect spreading outward from the rift. In theory, such an effect could create exactly the sensation you're describing, a physical connection at the subatomic level. The scientific explanation should have been reassuring, but instead it only deepened Videl's unease. If what he had experienced was real and not some psychological reaction to the incredible display of power, then something fundamental had changed in the universe, and possibly within herself as well. They'll be coming back soon, Bulma said, gathering her scattered equipment. Whatever happened up there, we'll get answers when they return. Videl nodded absently, her eyes drawn back to the stars above. They looked ordinary now, but she knew better. She could feel it, a subtle new resonance in the energy flowing through and around her. Something cosmic had awakened, and somehow, impossibly, she was connected to it. In the world of Void, the aftermath of Goku's transformation unfolded in controlled chaos. The Grand Minister had erected a containment field around the Saiyan warrior, not as a Risen but as a protective measure for everyone involved. Within this shimmering barrier, Goku floated cross-legged, eyes closed, stellar energy continuing to pulse from his form in rhythmic waves. Cosmic radiation he's emitting is affecting the structural integrity of dimensional boundaries, Whis explained to the gathered gods and remaining mortal fighters from Universe 7. If not properly contained, it could create rifts between realities. Like the one I just sensed opening to Earth. Beerus asked sharply. Whis nodded, his expression unusually grave. Precisely. That breach was relatively minor and self-sealing. But larger or more numerous rifts could have catastrophic consequences. Vegeta stood with arms crossed, observing his rival with a complex mixture of emotions. The perpetual drive to surpass Kakarot warred with genuine concern and a reluctant but profound respect. So what exactly has he become? The Saiyan Prince demanded. I've never seen or heard of any transformation like this. The Grand Minister floated down to join their conversation, his childlike appearance belied by eyes that held the wisdom of eons. What you are witnessing is the awakening of an ability thought to be merely legend. Even among the gods, before Saiyans became conquerors, in their most ancient history, they were said to have been celestial navigators, beings attuned to the cosmic forces that bind the multiverse together. Navigators, Piccolo repeated skeptically. The Saiyans you know are but a shadow of what the race once was, the Grand Minister continued. Their connection to cosmic forces was largely bred out of them as they evolved toward physical combat prowess. But the potential remained dormant in their genetic code, a potential that, theoretically, could be awakened under precisely the right circumstances. And those circumstances just happened to occur during the Tournament of Power. Beerus asked, suspicion evident in his tone. The Grand Minister's expression remained carefully neutral. The convergence of all 12 universes, energies in a space outside conventional reality, combined with Son Goku pushing beyond the limits of Ultra Instinct. It created a unique cosmic alignment. Whether by design or cosmic coincidence is unclear. Inside the containment field, Goku's eyes suddenly opened, galaxies still swirling in their depths. He uncrossed his legs and stood, examining his hands with quiet wonder as starlight continued to pulse beneath his skin. I can hear you all, he said, his voice still carrying that strange harmonic quality. And I think, I'm starting to understand what's happening. The Grand Minister gestured, and a portion of the barrier dissipated, creating an opening through which he floated to join Goku inside the containment field. What do you understand, Son Goku? He asked gently. Goku looked up, meeting the celestial being's gaze directly, an act that would have been considered presumptuous under normal circumstances. But now seemed somehow appropriate. This power isn't like anything I've felt before, Goku explained, his voice thoughtful. It's not just stronger, it's different. I can feel connections. To stars, to planets, to people, to the fabric of reality itself. He paused, struggling to articulate concepts beyond normal comprehension. It's like the universe is alive, and I'm suddenly able to hear its heartbeat. The Grand Minister nodded. The legends call it the celestial Saiyan god of stars, a being who serves as a conduit for cosmic forces. Not merely a warrior, but a nexus through which the energy of creation flows. Outside the barrier, the others listened with varying degrees of comprehension and concern. Vegeta's face had gone unusually pale. There were stories, he said quietly, drawing surprised looks from the others. Ancient Saiyan legends my father mentioned once. Tales of ancestors who could navigate by starlight alone, who could feel the pull of distant worlds. I always assumed they were just primitive myths explaining basic space travel technology. They were considerably more than that, the Grand Minister confirmed. And now, after countless millennia, that potential has reawakened in Son Goku. Inside the barrier, Goku attempted a cautious step forward. As his foot touched the ground, reality rippled around him, creating momentary echoes of himself that faded like afterimages. He winced. It's difficult to stay in one place, he admitted. I keep feeling pulled in multiple directions at once. Like I should be everywhere simultaneously. That sensation is natural, the Grand Minister assured him. Your consciousness is expanding beyond conventional time-space limitations. With training, you will learn to focus it appropriately. Training. Goku's expression brightened, the familiar excitement of facing a new challenge momentarily overriding the strangeness of his situation. In that flash of enthusiasm, his appearance briefly flickered back to normal before the cosmic energy reasserted itself. You mean this can be controlled? To an extent, the Grand Minister replied carefully. Though I must eye on you, this power exists outside the conventional hierarchy of divine energy. Even the gods of destruction and angels have limited understanding of its nature and potential. Beerus bristled at this admission. Are you saying that a mortal has now accessed power beyond even the gods? Not beyond, the Grand Minister corrected smoothly. Different, complementary in some ways, opposing in others. The cosmic balance is maintained through diversity of energies, not rigid hierarchies. Goku closed his eyes again, concentrating. The stellar aura surrounding him contracted slightly, becoming more controlled, less chaotic in its emissions. When he reopened his eyes, they still held galaxies within them, but his voice sounded more like his own when he spoke. I need to get back to Earth, he said firmly. I can feel disturbances spreading from here. Rifts opening between dimensions. If I stay in the world of void much longer, the damage could become permanent. The Grand Minister exchanged a glance with Whis, some unspoken communication passing between them before he nodded. You are correct, your new form is reacting to the artificial nature of this realm. Returning you to your native universe would be prudent. What about the Super Dragon Balls? Krillin asked, speaking up for the first time. We won the tournament. Don't we get our wish? The Omni Kings, who had been watching the proceedings with uncharacteristic silence, suddenly perked up. Oh yes, the wish. A momentary flash of relief passed through the gathered fighters from Universe 7. In the chaos following Goku's transformation, they had almost forgotten the purpose of the tournament, and the fate of the erased universes. The Grand Minister waved his hand, and the 7 Super Dragon Balls appeared. Massive spheres floating in perfect formation. As the victors of the Tournament of Power, Universe 7 has earned the right to use the Super Dragon Balls. Please state your wish. All eyes turned to Goku, whose starlit form seemed to pulse in response to the presence of the mystical artifacts. He stepped forward, the containment barrier parting before him. I wish for all the universes that were erased during the tournament to be restored, he said without hesitation, his harmonic voice resonating with the Dragon Balls themselves, causing them to glow more intensely. The Grand Minister smiled slightly, as though he had expected nothing less. A noble wish, as anticipated. The Super Dragon Balls erupted with blinding light, spinning rapidly before merging into a singular point of radiance. From this cosmic convergence emerged the Divine Dragon, its serpentine form stretching across the vastness of the world of void. But as the dragon formed, something unexpected occurred. The Saint Eller energy emanating from Goku seemed to resonate with the dragon's power, creating interference patterns where the two energies intersected. "What's happening?" Krillin asked nervously as the dragon's form flickered, its normally smooth manifestation disrupted by pulses of cosmic energy. "An interaction between two forms of divine power," Whis explained, though his tone suggested this was unprecedented even for him. "The celestial Saiyan energy appears to be enhancing the wish somehow." The dragon's eyes glowed with unusual intensity as it gazed down at Goku. When it spoke, its voice seemed to address him specifically, rather than the group as a whole. "Your wish has been heard, Celestial One. The erased universes shall be restored." The dragon paused, its massive head tilting slightly. "But your new nature has expanded the scope of this wish. The barriers between universes will be temporarily thinned, allowing greater transit and communication between realms." The Grand Min Ister's eyes widened fractionally, the celestial equivalent of extreme shock. "That was not part of the intended wish," he said carefully. "It is the consequence of the wisher's nature," the dragon replied impassively. "The celestial Saiyan god seeks harmony between realms. The wish adapts to this intent." Before anyone could protest further, the dragon's form dissolved into brilliant light that expanded outward in a cosmic shockwave. Throughout the void, pinpoints of light blossomed, the restored universes returning to their rightful places in the multiverse. But as promised, something else was happening as well. Where once the universes had existed in careful isolation from one another, gossamer threads of energy now connected them, subtle pathways that hadn't existed before. "The cosmic web has been revealed," the Grand Minister murmured, his voice holding a note of concern. "This will have unforeseen consequences." Goku stared at the beautiful and terrifying display of interconnected realities, understanding on some instinctive level that he was responsible for this fundamental change to the cosmic order. The weight of that responsibility settled over him, tempering his ual carefree nature with something approaching genuine gravity. "I need to go home," he said again, his voice firmer this time. "I need to understand what I've become, what this means for Earth and everyone I care about." The Grand Minister nodded. "Indeed. And quickly, before further anomalies develop." He turned to Whis. "Please escort the fighters of Universe 7 back to their world immediately. I will brief the Omni Kings on these developments." Whis tapped his staff, creating a transport sphere around the Universe 7 fighters. "This may be somewhat uncomfortable," he warned them. "The new cosmic pathways will make travel interesting." As the sphere lifted off from the observation platform, Goku took one last look at the tournament arena, the battlefield where everything had changed. The Pride Troopers of Universe 11 were being reunited with their restored teammates, similar scenes of joy playing out across all the previously erased universes. Yet amidst the celebration, he not iced several divine beings watching him with expressions ranging from awe to alarm. Whatever he had become, it had disrupted the established order in ways that even the gods found unsettling. The transport sphere accelerated, entering a wormhole that would carry them back to Earth. But unlike previous journeys with Whis, this transit was turbulent. The walls of the wormhole rippled with unusual energy patterns. And through momentary tears in its structure, glimpses of other realities flashed by, worlds and dimensions never meant to be seen by mortal eyes. "The boundaries are still unstable," Whis explained, using his staff to repair breaches as they formed. "Your energy is interacting with the cosmic pathways, Son Goku. Try to contain it as best you can." Goku nodded, concentrating on awing the stellar energy closer to his body, condensing it to reduce its influence on their surroundings. The effort was enormous, like trying to compress an ocean into a drinking glass, but gradually the wormhole stabilized. "Hey, Whis," Krillin asked nervously, "what exactly does it mean for the barriers between universes to be thinned? Are we talking about invasions or what?" "Nothing so dramatic in most cases," Whis replied, though his usual carefree tone was notably absent. "Think of it more as increased permeability. Energy will flow more freely between realms. Communication will be easier. And yes, in some cases, travel between universes may occur without divine assistance." "That doesn't sound so bad," Gohan commented thoughtfully. "Perhaps not in isolation," Whis acknowledged. But cosmic systems exist in delicate balance. Change one element, and others must adapt, sometimes in unpredictable ways. The wormhole suddenly lurched, throwing them against the sphere's boundaries. Outside, the smooth transit tunnel fractured, revealing a kaleidoscopic view of multiple dimensions simultaneously. What was that? Vegeta demanded, regaining his footing. Whis frowned. Consulting patterns that appeared above his staff. We're passing through a convergence point, a nexus where multiple universal boundaries intersect. Ordinarily we would navigate around such areas, but new pathways are directing us straight through it. Through the fractured wormhole walls, they glimpsed extraordinary sights. Crystalline cities inhabited by beings of pure energy, vast cosmic oceans where thoughts took physical form. Desolate battlefields where time itself had been weaponized. Realities never meant to interact were suddenly visible to one another, their energies mingling across weakened barriers. This is my fault, Goku said quietly, watching as his stellar aura responded to each new dimension they passed, reaching out like curious tendrils toward kindred energies. I don't fully understand what I've done, but I know it's changing everything. Not your fault, Beerus corrected unexpectedly, his tone surprisingly free of its usual irritation. The potential was always there within you, Saiyan. The tournament merely provided the catalyst for its awakening. Lord Beerus is correct, Whis agreed, his attention still focused on navigating the increasingly complex pathway. Though I suspect certain parties may have anticipated this possibility. The timing seems convenient. Before Goku could ask what Whis meant by that cryptic statement, the transport sphere gave a final lurch and burst through into normal space. Earth hung before them, a blue-green jewel against the velvet backdrop of space. But even from this distance, subtle differences were apparent. The planet's aura, normally invisible except to the most sensitive divine perception, now pulsed with unusual patterns of energy, responding to Goku's presence like iron filings aligning with a magnet. We should proceed directly to Capsule Corporation, Whis decided. From my observations, it appears that's where the most significant temporal spatial disturbance occurred during your transformation. The sphere descended rapidly through Earth's atmosphere, a controlled fall that brought them to the familiar compound of Capsule Corp within moments. As they touched down on the expansive lawn, Goku was the first to step out, and immediately collapsed to his knees, overwhelmed by sensations. On Earth, his connection to the cosmic forces intensified exponentially. He could feel every living thing on the planet, from the smallest microbe to the largest creatures. More than that, he could sense the planet itself as a living entity, its slow rhythms and ancient energies suddenly as clear to him as his own heartbeat. Goku. Voices called out to him, but they seemed to come from enormous distance. Hands tried to help him up, but passed through his partially ethereal form. Through the overwhelming cascade of sensory input, one voice cut through with unexpected clarity, a voice that, by all rights, shouldn't have registered any differently than the billions of others on the planet. Focus on my voice, Videl said firmly, kneeling before him without attempting to touch him. Find one point of concentration and build outward from there. Goku's star-filled eyes found hers, recognate, ion flickering within their cosmic depths. Videl. Yes, she confirmed, maintaining steady eye contact. I saw you, through the rift. I felt the connection. Use that as your anchor. Somehow, impossibly, it worked. Focusing on Videl's steady presence, Goku began to filter the overwhelming cosmic awareness, building mental partitions that allowed him to function without being consumed by universal consciousness. The stellar aura surrounding him contracted, conforming more closely to his physical form. His eyes, while still containing swirling galaxies, became more focused. When he finally stood, his movements were more natural, less like a being existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. How did you know what to do? He asked Videl, genuine curiosity in his harmonic voice. She shook her head, equally confused. I don't know. I just knew. When I saw you through the rift, something changed. I've been feeling things I shouldn't be able to feel, knowing things I have no way of knowing. Bulma stepped forward, scientific curiosity overriding any fear of the cosmic entity Goku had become. The quantum entanglement effect, she said with growing excitement. When the dimensional barrier thinned, it must have created a connection between you two at the subatomic level. Is that even possible? Gohan asked, looking between his father and his friend with concern. Theoretically, no, Bulma admitted. But we're clearly beyond conventional physics at this point. Whis observed the interaction with keen interest. Fascinating. It appears the celestial Saiyan energy has identified Ms. Satan as a resonant frequency, a compatible energy signature that can help stabilize its cosmic fluctuations. Resonant frequency, Videl repeated, not entirely comfortable with the clinical description of whatever was happening between her and Goku. A cosmic anchor, if you prefer, Whis clarified. Your ki, while human in origin, must possess unique properties that harmonize with the celestial energy. Quite remarkable for a non-divine being. Goku took a careful step forward, then another, his movements becoming more confident as he maintained his focus on Videl's energy signature. It's like having a lighthouse in a storm, he explained, struggling to articulate the experience. I can navigate by it. Vegeta watched this development with narrowed eyes, his tactic. Al mind already calculating the implications. So the girl is what? His controller. His weakness? Neither, Whis corrected. More accurately, she is a stabilizing influence. The celestial Saiyan god draws power from cosmic connections. Ms. Satan simply provides a focal point for those connections, allowing more precise control. Bulma clapped her hands decisively. Well, whatever's happening, we need to study it properly. Goku, Videl, inside the lab, now. The rest of you can wait in the living room until we've run some tests. The authority in her voice brooked no argument, not even from gods or cosmic entities. As they followed her toward the Capsule Corp building, however, Goku paused, his attention suddenly drawn skyward. Something's coming, he said, his voice distant. Something drawn by the change in cosmic barriers. Quote, the others followed his gaze, but saw nothing unusual in the clear blue sky. Yet moments later, a ripple appeared in the atmosphere, a subtle distortion that gradually expanded into a swirling vortex of energy. Another dimensional rift, Whis observed, his staff at the ready. But this one appears deliberate. From within the vortex emerged a figure, female in form, with jade-green skin and hair that moved like liquid silver. Her eyes held no pupils, merely swirling pools of cosmic energy not unlike Goku's own. She wore armor that seemed composed of living metal, shifting and adapting to her movements as she descended gracefully to hover before the gathered group. Celestial One, she addressed Goku directly, her voice melodic and clearly non-human. Your awakening sends ripples across the cosmic web. The observers have dispatched me to assess the situation. The observers, Beerus growled, stepping forward aggressively. This is my domain, woman. Who are these observers to send anyone to my universe without permission? The green-skinned woman regarded the god of destruction with polite indifference. The observers predate the current divine hierarchy, Lord Beerus. We monitor cosmic events from outside conventional reality. The emergence of a celestial Saiyan god after eons of absence is such an event. Goku stepped forward, instinctively placing himself between the newcomer and the others. What do you want from me? Currently, only information, she replied. My designation is Envoy. I am here to confirm your awakening and assess your level of control. The cosmic pathways you've revealed could have profound consequences for reality if not properly managed. And if this assessment finds him lacking, Vegeta demanded. Envoy's expression remained neutral. Then adjustments would be necessary. The cosmic balance must be maintained. The threatening undertone was subtle but unmistakable. Whatever these observers were, they clearly considered themselves authorized to intervene if they deemed Goku's new powers a threat to cosmic stability. No one's making any adjustments to Goku, Bulma stated firmly. Technological genius undaunted by cosmic entities. He just needs time to understand and control these new abilities. Envoy tilted her head slightly, studying Bulma with something approaching curiosity. Your loyalty is noted, human. But understand that the stakes extend far beyond your world or even your universe. The celestial Saiyan god is a nexus point for cosmic forces. Instability could cascade through all realities. Then help him, Videl said suddenly, drawing everyone's attention. If stability is what you want, help him understand what he's become instead of making threats. Goku nodded in agreement. I don't want to cause any trouble. If these powers can be controlled, I want to learn how. Envoy considered this for a moment, then inclined her head slightly. A reasonable proposal. Limited instruction may be permitted. She raised a slender hand, and a small crystalline object materialized in her palm. This cosmic cipher contains basic knowledge about your new form. Study it, integrate its information, and demonstrate control. I will return in 7 rotations of your world to evaluate your progress. She floated the crystal toward Goku, who cautiously accepted it. The moment it touched his hand, the crystal glowed with the same stellar energy that emanated from his body. Until then, Celestial One, I recommend minimal use of your cosmic abilities. Each manifestation creates ripples that may attract attention. Attention from what? Piccolo asked, speaking for the first time since their return. Envoy's silver hair rippled like mercury as she turned to regard the Namekian. There are entities in the cosmic depths that hunger for stellar energy. The celestial Saiyan God is a beacon to such beings. Until he can shield his presence properly, discretion is advised. With that ominous warning, she rose into the air. 7 rotations, she repeated, and then vanished into the dimensional rift, which sealed itself behind her with a sound like distant thunder. A heavy silence fell over the group as they processed this latest development. Finally, Krillin gave voice to what everyone was thinking. Well, that's just great. As if gods and angels weren't enough to worry about. Now we've got cosmic observers, and energy-hungry entities from the cosmic depths. Goku looked down at the crystal in his hand, watching as points of light swirled within its structure like miniature galaxies. Despite the potential danger, he couldn't help but feel the familiar stirring of excitement that came with facing a new challenge. 7 days to learn to control cosmic powers, he mused, the harmonic resonance in his voice lessening as he gained better control. Seems like a tight deadline. Then we'd better get started immediately, Bulma declared, resuming her march toward the laboratory. Whis, I assume you'll want to observe. Beerus, try not to destroy anything while we're working. The god of destruction scoffed but made no argument. Then he recognized that the emergence of the celestial Saiyan god represented a fundamental shift in the cosmic hierarchy, one that warranted careful observation rather than impulsive action. As the others dispersed, Videl remained close to Goku, instinctively understanding that her presence helped stabilize his fluctuating energy. The connection between them was unlike anything either had experienced before, not romantic or even particularly personal, but a fundamental resonance at the level of pure energy. I still don't understand why me, she said quietly as they followed Bulma toward the lab. Of all the people on Earth, why would I be the one to connect with, whatever this is? Goku's star-filled eyes regarded her thoughtfully. Maybe it's not about why, but what happens next. That's usually how these things work out. For a man transformed into a cosmic entity, it was a surprisingly pragmatic perspective, and one that Videl found herself appreciating. Whatever had connected them, whatever changes were spreading through the multiverse, all they could do now was move forward and face the consequences together. As they entered Bulma's laboratory, the crystal in Goku's hand pulsed with increasing intensity, responding to his thoughts and emotions. Within its crystalline structure, knowledge waited, knowledge of what he had become, what he could do, and perhaps most importantly, what dangers his awakening had unleashed upon the multiverse. The age of the celestial Saiyan god had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2, Dimensional Ripples. 6 months had passed since the Tournament of Power, 6 months since Son Goku had awakened as something both more and less than human. Spring had given way to summer, summer to autumn, and now winter draped the mountain ranges north of Mount Paozu in pristine white silence. Somewhere within this frozen wilderness, a god of stars tried to remember how to be a man. The cave Goku had chosen his sanctuary perched high on an unnamed peak, accessible only by flight or the most determined climbing. Its entrance, nearly hidden by wind-sculpted snow formations, revealed little of the extraordinary adaptations within. The rough stone walls pulsed with faint starlight, not illumination added to the cave, but something that had seeped into the rock itself, transforming ordinary granite into a material that hummed with cosmic resonance. Dawn broke over the eastern ridges, painting the snowfields in hues of amber and rose. Inside the cave, Goku sat cross-legged in perfect stillness, his form flickering between solid and ethereal as he struggled through another meditation session. The crystal envoy had left him hovered at eye level, projecting complex geometric patterns of light that shifted and reformed as he focused his attention on them. Cosmic alignment requires both expansion and contraction, he recited, the harmonic overtones in his voice creating eerie echoes throughout the cave. To control the stellar force, one must simultaneously exist in all places and anchor firmly to one. 6 months of studying the cosmic cipher's teachings had given him a theoretical understanding of his new nature. But practical mastery remained frustratingly elusive. The celestial Saiyan god transformation wasn't like his previous forms, it couldn't be activated and deactivated at will. Instead, it had fundamentally altered his existence, leaving him caught between mortal and cosmic states. In moments of perfect concentration, he could appear almost normal, the stellar energy contained within his flesh like a sun hidden behind clouds. But emotion, exertion, or even momentary distraction could trigger an uncontrolled release, his body dissolving into patterns of pure cosmic force that distorted reality around him. Goku's concentration faltered as a familiar frustration surfaced. The geometric projection wavered, then dissipated as the crystal dropped into his waiting palm. He sighed, running his free hand through hair that occasionally sparkled with points of starlight. Still can't get it, he muttered to himself. Rising from his meditation position, he moved toward the cave entrance, careful to maintain the mental disciplines that kept his form mostly solid. The snow outside remained undisturbed, no footprints, no signs of visitors. Not that he expected any. Few knew of this location, and fewer still could reach it without assistance. He had chosen isolation partly for safety. His unpredictable energy fluctuations had caused too many incidents in populated areas, but also from a growing sense of disconnection from his former life. How could he explain to Chi-Chi or Gohan that he sometimes forgot to eat because he could draw sustenance directly from stellar radiation? Or that in certain moments, he could perceive events occurring light years away with greater clarity than conversations happening right beside him? The cipher had a term for this condition: cosmic displacement. A natural side effect of consciousness expanding beyond mortal limitations. Goku leaned against the cave entrance, watching his breath form clouds in the crisp mountain air. At least that still happened, a reassuring reminder that part of him remained human. He stretched out his senses, performing his morning ritual of checking on distant friends and family. Gohan was already awake, preparing for an early university lecture. Chi-Chi tended her garden, having found peace in the 6 months since their amicable separation. Vegeta trained in the gravity chamber, his energy signature burning with familiar intensity. And Videl, Goku's cosmic awareness snapped into sharper focus, surprise breaking his meditative calm. Unlike the others who remained at predictable locations, Videl's energy signature moved steadily through the mountain range below him, heading directly toward his sanctuary. For a moment, he considered retreating deeper into the cave. Their connection had proven useful during those chaotic first days after his transformation, but he deliberately avoided her since establishing his mountain retreat. The resonance between them remained poorly understood and potentially dangerous, another complication in an already complicated existence. Yet curiosity overrode caution. How had she found him? Why come now, after months of silence? And how had he managed to traverse the treacherous mountain terrain that had defeated even experienced climbers? Instead of hiding, Goku stepped out onto the narrow ledge fronting his cave, his form briefly shimmering with suppressed stellar energy as the sunlight touched his skin. Below, winding up a nearly invisible path through snow-laden pines, a solitary figure in white winter gear methodically ascended toward him. Videl Satan had long prided herself on determination, but even she had to admit this expedition tested her limits. 4 days of hiking through increasingly difficult terrain, nights spent in a thermal tent barely adequate against the mountain cold, and the constant uncertainty of whether her destination actually existed, all for a conversation that might yield no answers. Yet something drove her forward. Beyond rational explanation. The same something that had guided her unerringly through unmarked wilderness when even satellite navigation systems failed. The same something that had wakened her countless nights over the past 6 months, her room filled with dancing lights no one else could see. She paused to catch her breath, checking the makeshift detector strapped to her wrist. Bulma's invention resembled an ordinary fitness tracker but was designed to measure quantum fluctuations associated with cosmic energy. The display showed steadily increasing readings, confirming she approached the source. Just another mile, Videl murmured to herself, adjusting her backpack before continuing upward. The transformation in her own life since the Tournament of Power had been nearly as profound as Goku's. If less spectacularly visible, she had abandoned her position at her father's martial arts school, redirecting her energy toward understanding the strange new sense. Idavati she developed to cosmic forces. Partnerships with Bulma and, surprisingly, Gohan's scientific colleagues had produced intriguing research but few concrete answers. The most promising theory suggested that her brief exposure to Goku's transformation had somehow activated latent capabilities within her own key system, capabilities that might exist in all humans but rarely manifested. This explanation satisfied the scientists but missed what Videl considered the essential truth. Something had connected her to the universe in ways both exhilarating and terrifying. As she rounded a sharp bend in the mountain path, the air before her suddenly shimmered like heat waves rising from summer asphalt. Videl stopped, recognizing the warning signs of a dimensional fluctuation, one of the phenomena that had become increasingly common worldwide over the past 6 months. Most were harmless, brief thinnings of reality's fabric that manifested as visual distortions or localized gravitational anomalies. But others, the shimmer intensified, colors inverting briefly before a vertical tear appeared in the air itself, edges ragged like torn fabric. Through this rift in reality came a sound like distant crystal bells, followed by a blast of air carrying the scent of something alien, metallic yet organic, like blood mixed with ozone. Videl dropped into a defensive stance, keenly aware of her vulnerability. Previous encounters with dimensional anomalies had taught her caution. Some rifts merely offered glimpses into other realities before closing. Others disgorged objects or energies from distant realms. The most dangerous released entities, things that had no business existing in Earth's reality but seemed increasingly drawn to it. This rift belonged to the third category. The tear widened, its edges stabilizing as something pushed through from the other side, something with too many limbs moving in patterns that hurt the eyes. The creature that emerged resembled an arachnid made of translucent crystal, each of its 8 legs terminating in wickedly sharp points. Its body pulsed with internal light that shifted through colors beyond normal human perception. Of course, Videl muttered, slowly backing away while keeping her eyes fixed on the creature. Can't just have a nice, peaceful hike up a mountain. Have to run into interdimensional spider monsters. The crystal arachnid paused, multifaceted eyes swiveling independently as it oriented itself to this new reality. When it finally focused on Videl, its body language shifted from confusion to predatory interest. GHT pulsed more rapidly through its crystalline form as it lifted its front legs, revealing mouthparts that clicked together with an unpleasant metallic sound. Videl centered her breathing, drawing Ki into her palms, not for a destructive blast, but for something more controlled. During months of experimentation, she discovered her enhanced sensitivity to cosmic energy allowed for more precise Ki manipulation than most human martial artists could achieve. Rather than raw power, she developed techniques emphasizing efficiency and specificity. As the creature scuttled forward with alarming speed, Videl executed a precise movement, releasing a thin disk of concentrated Ki that sliced through 2 of its front legs. The severed limbs shattered against the snowy ground like broken glass, but immediately began to reconstitute. Crystal fragments flowing back together as though magnetized. Regenerative abilities. Great, she grimaced, recalculating her approach. The creature reared back, its remaining legs digging into the mountainside for stability. From its mouthparts sprayed a shower of crystalline projectiles, each no larger than a grain of rice but moving with bullet-like velocity. Videl dodged sideways, rolling through the snow as the tiny missiles peppered the area she'd vacated, embedding themselves in trees and rocks with enough force to crack solid stone. Coming up from her roll, Videl channeled Ki through her entire body in a technique she developed specifically for enhancing physical capabilities. Her movements became fluid, almost precognitive, as she closed distance with the creature faster than any normal human could manage. Before it could reorient for another attack, she delivered a perfectly placed strike to what appeared to be a vulnerable junction in its crystalline exoskeleton. The impact sent cracks spreading through the creature's body, temporarily disrupting its internal light. It skittered backward, legs scrabbling for purchase on the icy ground. But rather than retreat, it seemed to reach a different tactical decision. Its body suddenly contracted, then expanded in a burst of prismatic energy that knocked Videl backward through the air. She managed to right herself before collision, landing in a crouch several yards away. But the momentary disorientation cost her. When she looked up, the creature had positioned itself between her and the path leading up the mountain, directly between her and her destination. Worse, the dimensional rift behind it pulsed with renewed energy as a second crystalline form began pushing through. This is getting out of hand, Videl muttered, assessing her options with growing concern. Just as the second creature emerged fully into Earth's reality, the air above the clearing distorted in a wholly different manner. Not the ragged tear of a dimensional rift, but a smooth ripple like a stone dropped in still water. From this distortion descended a figure wreathed in midnight blue energy scat. Teared with points of light, an effect reminiscent of the night sky condensed into humanoid form. Son Goku landed between Videl and the crystal arachnids, his arrival sending a pulse of cosmic energy across the mountainside that momentarily silenced even the wind. The creatures reacted immediately, their internal lights synchronizing into rapid, agitated patterns. "Sorry I didn't come sooner," Goku said without turning, his harmonic voice carrying clearly despite the howling mountain winds. "I was watching to see how you'd handle it. Your technique has improved a lot." "You were testing me?" Videl asked incredulously, though she couldn't entirely suppress a flicker of pride at the recognition of her progress. "Observing," he corrected. "Different thing." The crystalline entities seemed to communicate silently with one another, their legs moving in coordinated patterns that suggested strategic planning rather than animal instinct. Without warning, both creatures launched forward simultaneously, one high and one low. Crystal limbs extended like spears. Goku made no dramatic movements in response. He simply stood, perfectly still, as reality bent subtly around him. The charging creatures found themselves suddenly veering off course, as though their trajectories had been nudged by an invisible hand. Their momentum carried them past their intended target and into each other, resulting in a cacophonous collision of shattering crystal. As they struggled to disentangle and reconstitute their damaged forms, Goku extended one hand toward the dimensional rift they had emerged from. With a gesture that seemed almost gentle, he pinched his fingers together. The tear in reality responded, its edges drawing toward one another until the opening sealed with a sound like distant thunder. "They can't go home now," Videl observed, moving to stand beside him as the creatures regrouped. "This isn't about sending them back," Goku replied, a hint of regret coloring his harmonic voice. "These rifts are one way. Once they cross through, the original connection is severed." The crystal arachnids, perhaps sensing their predicament, altered their approach. Instead of attacking directly, they began circling, maintaining distance while emitting complex patterns of light from their bodies. "They're communicating," Videl realized. "Calling for reinforcements." "Worse," Goku said, "they're trying to create a new rift. Their bodies store dimensional energy, that's how they cross between worlds in the first place." As if confirming his assessment, the air between the creatures began to distort. Subtle at first but growing more pronounced with each passing second. A new tear was forming, potentially larger than the first. "We need to stop them before," Videl began, but Goku was already moving. He flowed forward like liquid starlight, his form temporarily abandoning solidity as he closed the distance to the nearest creature. As he reformed beside it, he placed a hand on its crystalline carapace. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then points of light began to appear within the creature's transparent body, tiny stars blooming in the darkness of its alien physiology. The arachnid thrashed wildly, limbs flailing as the stellar energy spread through its system. Within seconds, its entire form filled with swirling cosmic light. A high-pitched keening emanated from it, a sound like crystal under impossible strain, before the creature simply dissolved, its physical form converting to pure energy that dispersed into the mountain air like luminous mist. The second creature, witnessing its companion's fate, abandoned its attempt to create a new rift. It turned to flee, crystal legs blurring with desperate speed. But Videl had anticipated this reaction. She launched herself into an intercept course, channeling ki through her body to match the creature's unnatural velocity. As she overtook it, Videl executed a precise aerial maneuver, flipping over the creature to land directly in its path. Rather than attacking immediately, she planted her feet firmly and extended both hands, palms outward. From her hands emanated not destructive energy but a Kefla modulated field of ki that created a momentary barrier. The creature slammed into this invisible wall at full speed, its forward momentum arrested so violently that cracks spread throughout its crystalline body. As it staggered backward, disoriented, Goku appeared behind it, one hand touching its fractured carapace. Like its companion, this creature too filled with stellar light before dissolving into luminous particles that drifted away on the mountain breeze. Silence returned to the mountainside, broken only by Videl's slightly elevated breathing. The entire encounter had lasted less than 2 minutes. Those weren't the first-dimensional intruders you've encountered, Goku observed, his form solidifying as he regained control over his cosmic energy. Videl shook her head. They're becoming more common, and more diverse. Crystal spiders are actually less troublesome than some of the others. Goku's star-filled eyes narrowed with concern. That's partly why I came looking for you, she explained, brushing snow from her winter gear. These incursions are increasing in frequency and severity. Bulma's monitoring network has recorded a 600% increase in dimensional anomalies over the past month alone. Goku absorbed this information with uncharacteristic stillness. When he finally spoke, the harmonic resonance in his voice had deepened, reflecting his concern. Quote, "It's accelerating faster than I anticipated. The cosmic cipher warned this might happen, but not so soon." Warned what might happen? Videl pressed. Instead of answering immediately, Goku looked upward, his gaze fixing on something beyond normal sight. "We should continue this conversation at my shelter. More are coming." More what? More crystal spiders? No. His expression darkened. Something else. Something drawn to our battle energy. We need to shield ourselves. Without waiting for her response, Goku placed a hand on Videl's shoulder. The world around them blurred, not in the familiar pattern of instant transmission but something altogether different. Videl experienced a sensation of existing in multiple locations simultaneously before reality snapped back into focus, depositing them inside the star-flecked cave that had become Goku's sanctuary. "What was that?" she asked, momentarily disoriented by the transition. "Not your usual teleportation technique. Cosmic slipstreaming," Goku explained, moving toward the back of the cave where a small fire burned without visible fuel. Moving through the spaces between conventional dimensions. It's less precise than instant transmission but doesn't require locking onto a specific key signature. Videl took a moment to study her surroundings. The cave appeared larger inside than its exterior suggested, with smooth walls that pulsed with embedded starlight. Minimal furnishings occupied the space. A simple sleeping pallet, a few cushions arranged around the mysterious fire, and a rough-hewn table bearing the crystalline artifact Envoy had provided. No personal items, no decorations, nothing to suggest the personality of its occupant. "Nice place," she commented with gentle irony. "Very minimalist." A flicker of the old Goku surfaced in his brief, somewhat embarrassed smile. "I don't need much these days. Physical objects can be distracting when you're trying to maintain corporeal form." He gestured toward the cushions. "Please, sit. You must be tired after climbing all this way." Videl gladly accepted the invitation, removing her heavy backpack and outer layers before settling near the strange fire. Its warmth reached her immediately, but she noticed it produced no smoke and required no apparent fuel source. "Cosmic fire," Goku explained, noticing her curiosity. "Burns on stellar energy instead of matter. No smoke, no ash. Convenient for cave living," she observed, extending her hands toward the pleasant warmth. Goku seated himself across from her, his form occasionally flickering with suppressed energy. For a moment, neither spoke, the cosmic fire crackling with sounds like distant solar flares. "Why did you come, Videl?" he finally asked, his star-filled eyes studying her with disconcerting intensity. Direct as always, she noted with a small smile before her expression turned serious. "I came because things are getting worse, not better. These dimensional incursions are just symptoms of a larger problem. Reality itself seems to be unraveling in places. She reached into her backpack, retrieving a tablet computer hardened against extreme conditions. After activating it, she turned the screen toward Goku, displaying a global map marked with hundreds of glowing points. Bulma's monitoring network has identified these locations as dimensional weak points, places W. Here the barrier between our reality and others has grown dangerously thin. 6 months ago, we could detect only a dozen such points worldwide. Now there are over 800, and the number increases daily. Goku studied the display, recognition dawning in his expression. They form a pattern. Yes, Videl confirmed. Bulma noticed it too. They're not randomly distributed. They follow specific geometric arrangements, almost like, quote, celestial alignments. Goku finished for her. They mirror the major star patterns visible from Earth. He rose, moving with fluid grace to retrieve the cosmic cipher from its resting place. Returning to the fire, he activated the crystal, causing it to project complex geometric patterns into the air between them. The cipher warned of this possibility, he explained, manipulating the projection to highlight specific configurations. When a celestial Saiyan god awakens, it creates resonance patterns throughout connecting dimensions. These patterns follow cosmic alignments, creating points where different realities temporarily synchronize. And these synchronization points become dimensional weak spots, Videl concluded, quickly grasping the concept. But why are they increasing now, 6 months after your transformation? Goku's expression grew troubled. Because I haven't mastered control. The cipher contains techniques to stabilize these resonance patterns. But I've been unable to implement them fully. My continued existence in this partial state is actually making things worse over time. So you need to either complete the transformation or reverse it, Videl suggested, her analytical mind cutting straight to the logical conclusion. Exactly. But neither option has proven accessible. He gestured toward the cipher's projection. Full ascension requires integration with cosmic consciousness on a scale I can't yet comprehend. Reversal might be impossible altogether. The cipher isn't clear on whether this transformation can be undone once initiated. Videl absorbed this sobering information in silence. After months of searching for solutions, she had hoped Goku might provide answers. Instead, she found him struggling with the same questions that plagued her own research. So what happens if the dimensional weakening continues? She finally asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. Eventually, barriers collapse entirely, Goku replied, confirming her fears. Realities that were never meant to interact would bleed into one another. Incompatible physical laws would create cascade failures throughout affected dimensions. And Earth would be at the epicenter. He met her gaze directly, stellar light swirling in the depths of his eyes. The cipher describes previous incidents from eons ago. Worlds caught at convergence points simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed in the conventional sense, erased from reality's framework altogether. The implications settled over them like a physical weight. Videl had suspected the situation was dire, but this exceeded even her most pessimistic assessments. There has to be something we can do, she insisted, refusal to accept impossible situations. On's being a fundamental part of her character. The cipher was given to you for a reason. There must be solutions within it that you haven't discovered yet. Goku's form flickered momentarily, his emotional response to her determination causing a brief lapse in his control. I've studied every aspect of the information it contains. Some concepts simply exceed my current understanding. It's like trying to teach calculus to someone who hasn't mastered basic arithmetic. Then we find someone who already knows the advanced math, Videl countered. The universe is vast, filled with beings of incredible knowledge. Surely someone must understand these cosmic principles better than we do. A thoughtful expression crossed Goku's face. There might be one possibility. The cipher mentions cosmic archivists, beings who collect and preserve knowledge from throughout the multiverse. If anyone would understand these principles, they would. Great. How do we find them? That's the problem. Our repositories exist outside conventional spacetime. The only way to reach them would be through a specifically calibrated dimensional gateway. Like the ones appearing all over Earth, Videl suggested, gesturing toward the tablet still displaying the map of weak points. Goku's eyes widened slightly as he considered this perspective. I hadn't thought of that. The random rifts are dangerous because they're uncontrolled. But with proper manipulation, we might turn the problem into the solution, Videl finished, excitement building in her voice. Use the dimensional instability to deliberately access other realities. It would be incredibly dangerous, Goku cautioned. Without precise control, we could end up anywhere, including realities incompatible with human life. Videl met his warning with a steady gaze. More dangerous than doing nothing while reality unravels around us. Before Goku could respond, a tremor ran through the mountain, subtle but distinct. Both warriors tensed, attention shifting toward the cave entrance where early afternoon light still illuminated the snowy landscape beyond. What I sensed earlier, Goku murmured, rising to his feet. It's arrived. Videl stood beside him, instinctively shifting into a defensive stance. Another dimensional intruder? No. His voice had taken on an unusual quality, something between recognition and uncertainty. Something different, something familiar, yet not. They moved together toward the cave entrance, Goku's stellar aura automatically dimming to prevent detection. Outside, the pristine mountain vista remained apparently unchanged, snow-covered peaks stretching to the horizon under a clear winter sky. Yet both warriors sensed the wrongness permeating the scene. There, Videl whispered, pointing toward a distant ridgeline. A dark silhouette stood outlined against the sky, humanoid but too distant to distinguish clearly. As they watched, the figure raised what appeared to be an arm. Florida. Shish of green energy erupted from the extended limb, arcing through the air toward their position with alarming speed. Goku stepped forward, one hand rising in a casual gesture. The incoming energy blast diverted in mid-flight, curving harmlessly into the sky where it dissipated in a shower of emerald sparks. A test, he observed, not a serious attack. They're gauging our capabilities. The distant figure vanished from the ridgeline, moving with such speed that even Videl's enhanced perception registered only a blur. Seconds later, a thunderous impact shook the mountainside as something landed on the ledge outside the cave, sending snow cascading down the cliff face. Dust and ice crystals swirled in the sunlight, temporarily obscuring the new arrival. As the cloud settled, it revealed a female figure standing with arms crossed in a posture of casual confidence. Her skin had a faint olive tone, and her wild black hair contained subtle highlights of deep crimson. She wore battle dama, G'd armor of unfamiliar design over a form-fitting bodysuit that seemed engineered for combat mobility. Most striking, however, were her eyes, heterochromatic, with the left a piercing green and the right a deep amber. Those unusual eyes now widened slightly as they fixed on Goku's stellar form. "Well," the woman said, her voice carrying a strange dual quality, as though two distinct vocal patterns were layered together. "You're definitely not what I expected to find, but that energy signature is unmistakable." She uncrossed her arms, dropping into a combat-ready stance. "Your son Goku, or W. Hativer's left of him after that cosmic makeover." Goku stepped forward, recognition dawning in his expression. "Kefla, no, Kale," his brow furrowed in confusion. "Both somehow." The woman smirked, revealing slightly elongated canines. "Close. The name's Kefla now, permanently. Turns out those Patara earrings had a manufacturing defect. The temporary fusion for non-Kais isn't so temporary. When cosmic energy from multiple universes fries their circuitry." "Kefla," Videl repeated, studying the fusion warrior with interest. She had heard stories about the tournament of power, including C counts of the formidable fused Saiyan who had pushed Goku to his limits. "You're from Universe 6. Was from Universe 6, Kefla corrected, her dual-toned voice carrying an edge of bitterness. That distinction became less relevant after the multiverse started coming apart at the seams. Her heterochromatic gaze shifted between them. "Which brings me to why I'm here, tracking cosmic anomalies across dimensions until I found the source." Quote, she pointed accusingly at Goku. "You, whatever you've become, is tearing holes in reality itself. Our universe is experiencing catastrophic dimensional breach. Entire regions disappearing into void space or being overridden by conflicting physical laws. It's happening here too," Videl interjected before Goku could respond. "The dimensional barriers are weakening globally." Kefla's expression shifted, the initial hostility giving way to calculation. "So you're aware of the problem. Good. That skips the tedious explanation phase." She relaxed her combat stance slightly. The question remains, what are you doing about it? Goku stepped forward, his form solidifying as he exerted greater control over his fluctuating energy. Learning to master this transformation. The dimensional instabilities are connected to my inability to fully integrate with the cosmic force. And how's that working out? Kefla asked with pointed sarcasm, gesturing toward the mountains around them. Because from where I'm standing, hiding in a cave while reality crumbles doesn't seem like a winning strategy. We're developing a new approach, Videl stated firmly, moving to stand beside Goku. Using controlled dimensional gateways to seek outside assistance. Kefla's heterochromatic eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Dimensional manipulation is dangerous without proper stabilization equipment. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical. Not necessarily, Goku countered, nodding toward his stellar form. I can provide the energy. What we lack is precise control methodology. A calculating look crossed Kefla's face. Well, that's convenient, because precise methodology happens to be something I can offer. She reached into a compartment on her armor, retrieving a small device that resembled a metallic cube inscribed with intricate circuitry. Reality anchors, developed by Universe 6 scientists before. She hesitated, an unreadable emotion flickering across her features. Before things got bad, they're designed to stabilize dimensional boundaries within a limited radius. Videl studied the device with keen interest. That could be exactly what we need. Combined with Goku's energy and the naturally occurring weak points, we might be able to create controlled pathways. Might, Kefla emphasized, returning the cube to her armor. These were prototype tech when I acquired them. Limited testing, no field verification. Using them in conjunction with whatever cosmic mojo he's generating now. She jerked her thumb toward Goku. That's untested territory. Everything about this situation is untested territory, Goku observed, his harmonic voice reflecting a calmness that belied the gravity of their discussion. The question is, whether we're willing to accept the risks to find solutions. The three warriors regarded one another in momentary silence, each weighing personal calculations against greater necessities. It was Kefla who finally broke the tension, her dual-toned voice softening slightly. Look, I didn't cross dimensional boundaries just to point fingers. I came because Universe 6 is falling apart, and the trial of cosmic disruption led straight to you. She gestured toward the cave entrance. But there's more to it than that. Something's coming. Something that's using these dimensional weak points as entry vectors. The rifts aren't just random failures, they're being deliberately targeted. By what? Videl asked. We called them void feeders, Kefla replied grimly. Entities that consume reality itself. They exist in the spaces between dimensions, normally unable to access stable universes. But with the barriers weakening, they've found entry points, Goku concluded, his expression darkening. The crystal arachnids Videl encountered earlier, were they void feeders? Kefla shook her head. Dimensional refugees, most likely. Creatures fleeing unstable realities. Void feeders are different. They don't have physical forms in the conventional sense. They manifest as reality distortions, areas where physical laws simply cease to function. As if summoned by her description, a tremor ran through the mountain beneath them. Stronger than the previous disturbance. Outside the cave, the clear sky suddenly darkened as though a storm had materialized from nowhere. But the blackness gathering above wasn't weather, it was absence. A void in reality itself spreading across the firmament like spilled ink. Speak of the devil, Kefla muttered, her hands already glowing with gathered energy. Seems one found us. Goku moved with liquid grace to the cave entrance, his stellar aura expanding as he released some of the controls containing his cosmic energy. We need to drive it back before it establishes a foothold in this dimension. How exactly do you fight something that has no physical form? Videl asked, joining them at the entrance as the unnatural darkness continued to spread across the sky. You don't fight it. You stabilize the reality around it, Kefla explained, retrieving the cubic device from her armor. The void feeder can only exist where dimensional barriers are compromised. Reinforce those barriers, and it loses its access point. She activated the reality anchor, causing its circuitry to glow with blue-white energy. This should create a stabilized zone around us, but its range is limited. We'll need to get closer to the breach point. Above them, the spreading void had begun to exhibit structure, not random darkness, but geometric patterns of non-exist. Ents that shifted and reformed with terrible purpose. Where these patterns touched the mountainside, matter simply vanished, erased rather than destroyed. Trees, rocks, snow, all disappeared without sound or resistance, leaving perfect geometric excisions in the landscape. It's establishing a consumption pattern, Kefla observed, her voice tightening. We don't have much time. Goku turned to Videl, stellar determination burning in his eyes. Stay within the anchor's protection. Kefla and I will approach the breach point. Not happening, Videl countered firmly. My research with Bulma suggests human ki might interact differently with dimensional anomalies than Saiyan energy does. You need me there. Before Goku could object further, Kefla interjected. She's right. In Universe 6, Mix. Ed species response teams proved more effective against incursions than homogeneous units. Different energy signatures create interference patterns that disrupt void feeder consumption cycles. Goku hesitated, concern evident in his expression, but finally nodded. Stay close to the anchor. If the situation deteriorates, I'll extract both of you immediately. With that settled, the three warriors launched from the cave ledge. Ascending toward the geometric void expanding across the sky, Kefla took point, reality anchor held before her like a shield. Goku followed slightly behind and to her right, his stellar aura carefully modulated to avoid further dimensional disruption. Videl completed their formation on the left, her human ki creating a distinct energy signature that complemented the others. As they approached the breach point, the nature of what they faced became clearer. The void feeder wasn't simply darkness, it was an absence of existence itself, a three-dimensional hole in reality. Around its edges, physical laws behaved erratically, gravity reversed, time flowed at inconsistent rates, and matter flickered between states of being. The anchor's working, Kefla called out, noting the blue-white energy field expanding from the device to envelop their small group. It's creating a bubble of stable reality around us. But it's not pushing the entity back, Videl observed, watching as the geometric patterns continued to expand despite their approach. We need to find the breach point, the actual tear where it's entering from void space, Kefla explained, scanning the undulating patterns of nothingness. There, that central structure that doesn't move with the rest. That's our target. At the heart of the spreading geometric patterns floated a perfect dodecahedron of absolute emptiness, not black, not dark, but a complete absence that the human mind struggled to process. This fixed point seemed to anchor the surrounding patterns, which rotated around it in increasingly complex arrangements. I see it, Goku confirmed, his cosmic perception revealing aspects of the structure invisible to normal senses. It's a dimensional lock point. The entity is using it to maintain stability while extending further into our reality. Kefla adjusted their approach vector, bringing them toward the central structure. The anchor needs direct contact with the lock point to seal the breach. Once sealed, the entity will be forced back into void space. Direct contact with absolute nothingness, Videl noted with grim humor. Sounds perfectly safe. Safety left the building a long time ago, Kefla replied, her dual-toned voice carrying an unexpected note of amusement. Welcome to Cosmic Crisis Management. As they closed distance to the central void, resistance increased. The air became thick, almost gelatinous, requiring greater energy expenditure to maintain forward momentum. Temperature fluctuated wildly, freezing cold one moment, searing heat the next. Most disturbing, sound itself began to distort, their voices stretching and compressing in unpredictable patterns. Reality breakdown accelerating, Kefla reported, her words arriving at their ears seconds after her lips moved. Anchor field holding but weakening under stress. Goku studied the chaotic environment around them, his cosmic awareness revealing patterns within the apparent randomness. It's not random destruction, he realized. The entity is systematically testing different fundamental forces, learning how our reality functions in order to consume it more efficiently. Great, Videl muttered. It's not just hungry, it's methodical. They had approached within 50 meters of the central void when the entity finally acknowledged their presence. The geometric patterns surrounding the dodecahedron suddenly reorganized, flowing together into a roughly humanoid configuration that hung in the air before them. This silhouette of nothingness had no features, yet somehow conveyed the impression of observing them with cold calculation. It's noticed us, Kefla stated unnecessarily, adjusting the reality anchor to strengthen their protective field. The void silhouette extended what might have been an arm. Where it pointed, reality simply ceased to exist, creating a beam of nothingness that lanced toward their position with impossible speed. Goku moved instinctively, his cosmic energy flaring as he interposed himself between the attack and his companions. Rather than attempting to block or deflect the beam, actions impossible against non-existence, he created a localized pocket of hyper-reality, saturating the space before him with concentrated cosmic energy. The void beam collided with this energy field, creating a reaction unlike conventional combat. Where the two forces met, reality itself seemed to negotiate, neither fully existing nor completely absent. The resulting stalemate halted the beam's advance, but the strain on Goku's control was immediately apparent. His form flickered rapidly between solid and ethereal as he struggled to maintain the energy expenditure. "I can't hold this indefinitely," he warned, voice strained with effort. "We need to reach the lock point now." Kefla assessed the situation with tactical precision. "Videl, your key signature registers differently to the entity. It's focusing on the cosmic energy as the primary threat. Use that advantage." Understanding immediately, Videl circled wide around the confrontation, using the distraction to approach the central void from a different angle. As predicted, the entity maintained its focus on the more dramatic energy conflict, failing to track her less conspicuous movement. Reaching a position directly behind the void silhouette, Videl enacted the second phase of their improvised strategy. Drawing upon techniques developed during months of experimentation, she generated a precisely calibrated key field around her body, not for protection or attack, but for dimensional stability. This human energy, fundamentally different from Saiyan power or cosmic force, created a thin corridor of normalized reality stretching from her position toward the central lock point. "Path stabilized," she called out, maintaining intense concentration. "But I can't extend it all the way to the target." Kefla immediately recognized the opportunity. With the void silhouette still focused on Goku, she launched herself through Videl's stabilized corridor, reality anchor extended before her. The protective blue-white field surrounding the device interacted with Videl's key corridor, strengthening and extending its effect. "Keep it distracted," Kefla shouted to Goku as she rocketed toward the central void. "I need 3 seconds to reach the lock point." Goku responded by intensifying his cosmic output, stellar energy cascading from his form in waves that temporarily pushed back the void beam. The entity reacted predictably, reinforcing its attack with additional geometric patterns that peeled away from its main structure to focus on the primary threat. This diversion of resources created the opening Kefla needed. Accelerating to maximum velocity, she crossed the remaining distance to the dodecahedron of nothingness. At the last possible moment, she activated the reality anchor's primary function, causing the device to emit a blinding pulse of blue-white energy precisely calibrated to reinforce dimensional boundaries. The anchor made contact with the lock point, or as close to contact as possible with something that existed in the absence of existence. For one heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then reality itself seemed to hiccup, a momentary discontinuity that rippled outward from the central void. The geometric patterns surrounding the lock point began to collapse inward, folding into increasingly complex configurations before disappearing entirely. The void silhouette disintegrated, its cohesion lost as its anchor point destabilized. Within seconds, the entire structure had imploded, leaving behind only a small, swirling vortex that rapidly contracted to a pinpoint before vanishing with a sound like distant thunder. Where absolute darkness had dominated the sky moments before, ordinary daylight returned. The winter sun shone down on a mountain landscape partially erased by geometric patterns, perfect sections of forest and rock simply gone, leaving surreal, smooth-edged gaps in the terrain. The three warriors regrouped in midair, each showing signs of the encounter's toll. Kefla's reality anchor smoked slightly, its circuitry dimmed to emergency power levels. Videl's precise key control had left her physically drained, requiring conscious effort to maintain flight. Even Goku's stellar form appeared somewhat diminished, the points of light within his aura pulsing at reduced intensity. That, Kefla declared, stowing the depleted reality anchor, was way too close. But effective, Videl noted, surveying the damage below. "We drove it back, temporarily," Goku cautioned, his harmonic voice serious. It wasn't destroyed, merely denied access to this reality. And it learned from the encounter. They always do, Kefla confirmed grimly. Each incursion makes them more adapted to our dimensional laws. Eventually, reality anchors won't be enough. They descended slowly toward the cave, each lost in private contemplation of what they had witnessed. The encounter had demonstrated both the growing threat and the potential of their combined capabilities. Different energies, different perspectives, different approach. Together they had accomplished what none could have managed alone. As they landed on the ledge outside Goku's sanctuary, Videl broached the question uppermost in her mind. So what happens now? Goku gazed across the damaged landscape, stellar eyes reflecting determination rather than defeat. Now we stop reacting and start acting. Kefla's right. Hiding in a cave while reality crumbles isn't a strategy. We need to take the initiative. You mentioned seeking cosmic archivists, Videl reminded him. Using controlled gateways to access other realities. With my reality anchors, Kefla added. Padding the compartment containing the devices, we could stabilize dimensional pathways long enough for targeted exploration. Goku nodded, his decision crystallizing. We'll need more resources than what's available here. We should relocate to Capsule Corporation. Bulma's monitoring network and technological facilities would be invaluable. Plus actual beds and hot showers, Videl added with a wry smile. No offense to your cosmic cave. A ghost of Goku's old smile flickered across his face. None taken. I've been up here long enough anyway. As they prepared to depart, a subtle distortion appeared in the air nearby. Different from the chaotic tear created by the void feeder, this disturbance formed a perfect circle of shimmering energy. The three warriors immediately tensed, ready for another potential threat. From within this dimensional portal stepped a figure of striking appearance. Female in form, she stood nearly 2 meters tall with skin the color of burnished copper. And close-cropped white hair that contrasted sharply with her complexion. Her attire suggested military function. A form-fitting uniform of dark material accented with geometric patterns that shifted colors subtly as she moved. Most notably, her eyes glowed with inner light, pupilless orbs of amber energy that surveyed the scene with calculating precision. Dimensional transit detected, she stated without preamble, her voice carrying a metallic undertone that suggested technological enhancement. Void feeder incursion followed by reality anchor deployment. Probability calculations indicated 7.8% likelihood of finding survivors at this location. Her glowing gaze swept across the three warriors, lingering momentarily on each before fixing on Goku's stellar form. Energy signature confirmed. Celestial Saiyan God manifestation. Incomplete integration phase. She straightened to a formal posture. I am Commander Naira of the 6th Universe Dimensional Preservation Corps. My world faces extinction-level reality destabilization within 72 standard hours. I am authorized to request immediate intervention under Cosmic Crisis Protocol 7. The three warriors exchanged glances, this new development adding yet another layer of complexity to their already complicated situation. Before they could respond, Naira continued, her tone remaining precise and formal. Scans indicate you possess SS reality anchor technology and a cosmic energy source of sufficient magnitude for cross-dimensional stabilization. My authorization includes resource exchange protocols. She reached into a compartment on her uniform, withdrawing what appeared to be a data crystal. This contains complete schematics for advanced dimensional stabilizers developed by our science division before its headquarters was lost to void space. Kefla stepped forward, heterochromatic eyes narrowing as she studied the newcomer. Your uniform. 6th Universe Military, Special Operations Division. I recognize the insignia. Her dual-toned voice carried suspicious undertones. That division was disbanded 3 standard years ago. Correct. Following the Tournament of Power and subsequent Universal Restoration, RD. Vision was reformulated into the Dimensional Preservation Corps. Naira's expression remained neutral, but her glowing eyes intensified slightly. Your energy signature contains Saiyan markers consistent with Universe 6 genetic patterns. Explain your presence in this dimension. Long story short, Patara fusion went permanent, dimensional boundaries weakened, I tracked the disturbances to their source. Kefla gestured toward Goku. Found Star Boy here apparently causing cosmic havoc while hiding in a mountain. Naira processed this information with military efficiency. Fusion permanence is C. Consistent with reported Patara malfunctions during dimensional instability events. Your presence here is fortuitous. Combined with the celestial manifestation and indigenous human adaptability, she nodded toward Videl. Probability of successful intervention increases to 63.2%. Intervention in what, exactly? Videl asked, finding the newcomer's precise speech patterns both intriguing and slightly unnerving. Universal preservation. Naira replied simply. The collapse has reached critical threshold in my dimension. Strategic models indicate cascading failure will reach this universe within 15 standard days unless the primary breach point is stabilized. Goku stepped forward, his cosmic awareness already extending beyond conventional boundaries to verify her claims. What he sensed confirmed the dire assessment. Universe 6 existed on the precipice of complete dimensional failure, its reality fabric stretched to breaking point. She's telling the truth, he confirmed, stellar eyes reflecting concern. I can sense the instability patterns extending through the cosmic web. If her universe collapses completely, it will accelerate the breakdown process exponentially. Naira nodded in confirmation. Precisely. Cosmic systems exist in balanced networks. The loss of one universe creates mathematical instability that propagates through connected dimensions. She held out the data crystal again. Will you assist? Time factors are critical. Another exchange of glances passed between the three warriors, an unspoken communication born of shared danger and emerging trust. It was Kefla who ultimately reached for the crystal, her decision representative of their collective response. We were just discussing taking a more proactive approach anyway, she said, accepting the offered technology. Might as well start with saving an entire universe. Efficient decision, Naira approved, the faintest hint of relief penetrating her formal demeanor. Recommended course. Immediate relocation to your primary scientific facility for equipment integration and dimensional gateway preparation. Capsule Corporation, Videl confirmed. We were headed there anyway. Goku stepped forward, his stellar form pulsing with renewed purpose. For months he had struggled with the burden of his transformation, seeing it primarily as a danger to be contained. Now, perhaps, he could begin viewing it as a solution instead. A power awakened not to destroy reality but to preserve it. I'll transport us directly, he offered, extending his awareness to create a slipstream pathway between their current location and Bulma's facility. Everyone, stay close. As the four unlikely allies gathered for transit, the mountain sanctuary stood witness to a turning point, the moment when isolation gave way to cooperation. When defensive strategies yielded to proactive intervention. Whatever came next would be faced not alone but together, combining strengths from across dimensions to confront a threat to reality itself. Reality rippled around them as Goku activated the cosmic slipstream, their forms briefly existing in multiple locations simultaneously before disappearing entirely from the mountain ledge. Behind them, the star-flecked cave remained, a reminder of 6 months of solitary struggle, now abandoned in favor of a new approach. The cosmic fire continued to burn without fuel, illuminating a sanctuary no longer needed by a god who had remembered the importance of human connection. Chapter 2 End.